This is my dad's Hobie 16. He brought it over here a little while ago so we could do a little work to it. We had to clean the pontoons up, so we wet sanded them and buffed them. And the other issue was the rudders were the gel coat had come off for the paint, and it had exposed fiberglass. I'll post a picture of what they look like before. I've already fixed these, and I originally thought this would be a pretty big project because I thought I'd have to sand off the exposed fiberglass weaving and then maybe coat it in epoxy and then sand it down and primer it and paint it, or maybe get some gel coat and spray it on it. But it turns out I've came up with a better way to do it after looking on the internet, so I was going to show you how I did that. So here's the mast sitting between the Firebird and my little makeshift paint booth. You can see it's aluminum until you get to maybe the top 8 feet, and then it's fiberglass. And this is the same thing the rudder had going on. So I don't know, the paint or gel coat or whatever would come off, and there's actually loose fibers. It's exposed. So what I did on the rudder, it turned out really good, is I got my DA, the 180 grit or 220 or something like that on it, and I sanded it, and it knocked the loose fibers off so that I just had bare fiberglass. And then I painted it with this, which is Rustoleum Topside Paint. Now I think this is probably more made to go over gel coat to freshen up your paint on a boat, which I may do on my Stingray project if I ever get to that again. But I did it straight over the fiberglass, which it's an oil-based paint, and on the back it says you can go on bare fiberglass. So that's what I did, and I put 2 coats on it, and it turned out really good. So that's what we're going to do. This fiberglass is pretty nasty. If you get it on your skin, it can be pretty itchy, so try to wear a long sleeve shirt and pants. I don't have any pants today, but I'm going to wear a hoodie while I sand, and then I'll remove it when I'm done. I'm just going to use a DA or an orbital sander. Probably start off with 180 to get the loose fibers off, and then switch to 400 just to get something better to paint onto. Have your protection. Respirator, as I say, it's pretty nasty stuff, especially when you're sanding the actual fibers. They get, you can breathe that in and really irritate your lungs. And of course, safety glasses, you don't get fiberglass in your eyes. So the mast has a little track that the sail rides up. The sail has like a bead on the side of it, and goes into a groove right along here. You can see it turns into a plastic piece here that's attached to the fiberglass. So I'm going to put some tape on that. You can see it goes all the way down to the top where the pulleys are. So I'm going to put some painter's tape along that, or maybe just some masking tape, whatever I have, just to try to help me prevent sanding it, scratching it up with the sandpaper, and we'll get it knocked down, and then we'll go ahead and paint. Okay, so I've gone over the mast real quick with the 180, and let's see, let's get a good spot. So you can see it knocked all the loose hairs off. It's really hard to see how good it really looks, but if you get a little lacquer thinner and wipe it down, you can see it's pretty much smooth. It's got all the loose hairs off. A little rough surface just from where the hairs used to be embedded into the fiberglass. So I'm going to finish cleaning this off. Then I'll sand over it again with some 400 just real quick, just to smooth it off a little more. And then we'll start painting. Alright, so I'm just going to use a broom. You kind of sweep the fiberglass off of this board right here. I'd usually use like a air blower from the air compressor, but I don't really want to get this stuff into the air because then I'll have to evacuate. I'm going to go ahead and get the first coat of paint on this thing. And I'm going to stick a board, a 4x4 post. I'm going to stick right here. So the mast will be off the ground, or off the board, so that I can paint both sides of it. Hit one time, and wipe it down real quick, and then we'll put our first coat of paint on. Okay, so he's a 4-inch foam roller. Put it on and have a little cheap Harbor Freight foam brush for getting around the corners and this little bracket right here that holds the sail up. And got a little mini tray. This stuff goes a long ways. You put it on pretty thin. You can see I barely used any of it, and I did both rudders with that. So I shook it. I don't know if we're supposed to shake it, but I shook it, and I'm going to stir it a little bit. Put some in here. So we'll need, I'm going to put 2 coats on, and in between each coat I'm going to sand it. I think it recommends using 220. You can check the back. I'll probably use 400 because that's what I have. It won't be a perfect finish when I'm done. You'll still be able to see some of these fiberglass marks, but I'm pretty sure if you did another coat or 2, you could get them out. So, much easier than actually trying to fiberglass this thing. Get a good protective coating on it. Alright, so the first coat's done. The can says to wait 24 hours before sanding and putting on the second coat or it won't cure properly. So we'll get back at this tomorrow. Alright, so it's been a few days. The paint's dry. So I'm going to sand it down with, I got 400. I think it's supposed to be 220, but I'm going to use what I got. And then I'll put the final coat on it. Alright, the second coat, we'll let that dry overnight and then we'll take the tape off and check it out. Alright, it's the day we all been waiting for. Got me a cold snack, so we're about to remove the tape from the mast and then we'll take it outside on the boat and take a look at it. Here's the finished product. Is it perfect? Definitely not, but it does look pretty good, and it's protected. It's the main thing. It's not going to get worse. You can still see kind of the fiberglass and indentions, but it's mostly filled in. I think another couple coats you could probably get it filled in. Obviously you could lay resin over this or gel coat it, but this is much quicker and easier and still protects it. So hopefully this was helpful, and thanks for watching.